We got some.
Hello, welcome to Lee Stafford Education Live. This is number 8. I am Aaron. Don't call me Karen. Little change to the show this week. It's not going to be me the whole time, but I have got to do a bit of admin before everyone gets here and everyone knows what's going on. So let us know you're watching. Give us lots of thumbs up and love on the dial here. You can do that throughout the show. It just lets us know that you're enjoying what we're doing. Remember, if you've got any questions at all about any of the haircuts or you want to ask any of the guests anything at all that's on your mind, just use the chat, because that's where I'm going to be. Anyway,
Competitions?
The competitions, we have got one to kick off, and it's to do with our wonderful guest, the life of hair, James Atkinson.
Hi guys.
He's here.
Thank
you. He's come all the way from Brighton.
Yeah,
now,
thanks,
to
James.
get
You're
it going, we're giving goodie bags away. We've got 3 to give away for competition questions. And we've also got a couple for people that share the feed and, you know, tag their friends in it and all that stuff. So, James, what year... The question is, what year did James Atkinson start hairdressing? The first person to type into chat will get a Lee Stafford goodie bag. Now on with the show,
And
introducing...
we've got 2 other questions.
Yeah, but they're
for
late
the
on the show.
competitions,
They're
that's
later
right.
on. We'll deal with them later. Introducing Lee Stafford.
Don't forget our cameraman, Luke. Let's have a little look. He's just dyed his beard this month. It's a lovely shade of brown.
Just for
Lovely.
men, mate. Just for men.
Hello guys, how you doing? So the haircut I'm going to share with you tonight is the curve. And it's called the curve because there's lots of curves in it. But I really love this haircut. It's a real salon-friendly winner. You know, I've used a combination of this kind of shape on lots and lots of clients. So it's a real commercial one. So let's start off with the sectioning pattern, the pre-sectioning pattern. So what we've done here, we've done our classic horseshoe section that we do at Lee Stafford Academies. And the width of that section on top, when you measure from there to there, is 1.5 the width of that. So whatever that is, it's 1.5 on top. It's gone down to a slight point here. So normally it would just round through, but we've just taken it to a slight point. Then what we've done is we've sectioned off the sides. So the section goes right sort of in between the hairline there and the ear, and we do that on both sides. Around the back here, we take a section from the top of the ear to the top of the ear on the other side, which gives us this big section throughout the middle. And on the top, what we do is we go from these side sections here, we go up here in a curve on the top, which gives us a diamond shape on the crown. The fringe, what we do here is we do it asymmetric here, and that's about, I'll say that's about 3 centimetres there, and it goes down to 1 centimetre on this side. And then the top is just split into 2, which gives us them 2 sections. So that's the pre-sectioning. We do it asymmetric here, and that's about...
Stop!
So what we're going to do first of all, we're going to stick in a nice solid 1-length bob at the back. And the length that I'm going for is I just want to see that pivot point. Imagine that was a tattoo there on the neck. So I just want to expose that. So what we've done is we've just dried off this section, and with a pair of clippers, I'm just going to lower my chair so my eye line is in line with where I want this line to sit, because it's always a bit more awkward if you're trying to put a line in and your eye line is above that line or even below that line. Just try to get your eye line completely in line with the line you're cutting. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the clippers and we're just literally going to go in nice and straight. And I can see there, if you see that, Luke, you come round here, you can see that needs to go a little bit higher still. So always going a little bit longer to begin with, because you can always take it a little bit shorter, can't you? You can see now, I can just see that pivot point through there. So that's about the length that we want. So what we're going to do in now, we're just going to sketch this lining. So I'm not worried too much about getting it absolutely perfect as far as, you know, taking off the graduation at the bottom. All we're doing is just sketching the lining and just sketching the balancing. And you'll notice that the head is up in a very, very natural position. And the reason why we do this is because for so many years, you know, I cut hair with the one length line with the head down. And don't get me wrong, there's many ways to skin a cat. But if you have the head up nice and natural when you stick this line in, you haven't got to sort of cross your fingers that it's going to be the line you want when the client puts that head up. The line that you put in is the length that you're going to get. I mean, you do get some graduation with using this technique, but I think it's a small price to pay when you can get the exact length you want in and the exact balance to begin with. So I've sketched that in, just looking at the line, just looking at the balance on both sides. When I'm happy with that, then I can pick up the scissors and literally we'll just go in and just take off that graduation on the underneath now. So it's very, very simple, this technique. I mean, we don't teach this in our academies from day one with our students. We use an inside-out technique where we cut like this and then we cut like that so we can keep the balance. But this is just a nice, fun technique to use once you've mastered the art of cutting a line in with your scissors. This is just a nice, fun, quick way to bang a really sharp line into a haircut. So we're just going to get rid of that.
I love that neck brush. I love it.
That's great, isn't it?
That is serious.
It's yeah. Funny, isn't it? I think it's a hardware brush, you know. Okay, so we're just going to comb it down. Just have a little look visually. Just working on getting that line nice and sharp. I mean, I'm going to texturize this a little bit anyway, so it's not paramount that I get this absolutely razor, even though it is pretty razor, isn't it? Okay, we'll leave it at that for now. So once we've done that, then we're going to go into this section in the middle. So we're going to take out that clip, make sure that the hair, because when you leave it up in bumps, it can tend to get a little bit sort of squashed at the root, which we don't want. So just put a little bit of water on that just to control that root area. So So that underneath section was from our classic one length above that we teach at Lee Stafford Academies. This section is going to be a simple uniform layer. So what we're going to do, we're just going to take a vertical section right down the middle. And if you come just this side, Luke, you'll see that when I pull this hair up, you can see I've got that guide there from that line that we've just cut. So we're going to use that longest length that we got there, and then we're just going to cut this exactly the same length, just like you would do a uniform layer. Nice and simple. So once we've done that, we're then going to change our sectioning into a horizontal section. And we've got our guide now up the top there, which we've just cut through that vertical section. And we're going to pull it straight out from the head. I want to move my body so my body is directly in front of the section that I'm cutting. If my body is sort of behind it, I've got the chance of over-directing it quite easily. Where if your body's right in front of it, there's much less chance. So again, you can see there, we've got our guide from that section there, and we're just following it around the head. So I'm moving my body around and pulling it straight out from the head. You can see that guide that we've got there. And then I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. And the beauty of doing this on one side and then the other before you take off what's underneath of it is because you can get your balance right before you take off what's through the middle. So I'm going to take another little horizontal section here. So you come right behind over my shoulder, Luke. Yeah. You'll see that, can you see that we've got that guide there from that section there, and again now. Yeah. And then I'm going to move my body around so there's no chance I'm over-directing it at all. So that's what we do in our classic uniform layer at Lee Stafford Education. And the great thing about that is that now, if you come around this side, Luke, yeah. Now when we go back to our vertical sections, we've got very, very strong guidelines. We've got the guideline from the top of our bob, and now we've got a strong guideline from the top of that line that we've just cut. So I'm going to start off just by taking it off through the middle there, and then we'll go up and connect it to that as well. So we're just following the shape of the head. So this is a curved section, or sorry, yeah, a curved angle that I'm cutting this hair in. It's following the shape of the head, which is curved. So I'm going to work to literally that last section there. We're going to leave that for a second. I'm going to carry on cutting the one behind it, exactly like we've done all the other sections before it. But what we want to make sure now, because if we just continue to cut that in a uniform layer, we might end up getting a little bit of a hole here where we haven't got the luxury of that hair. So what we're going to do, this last section behind the ear, if you come around this way, Luke, what we're going to do now is we're only going to connect it to the top. So we're just going to connect it to the top of that section. So we're just going to cut it nice and square. So when this drops now, what we're going to have a little bit of hair that's going to fall over that. And when we connect it in, we're going to keep that weight quite heavy through that area, which is quite prone to getting a bit of a hole in. And we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So if you notice, when we're doing the uniform layer, when I'm cutting this side, my body's here. And when I'm cutting this side, my body just shifts here. So I'm doing exactly the same on both sides, which is going to give me more chance to get exactly the same on both sides. So my fingers are pointing, they were pointing down to the floor on that side, and they're pointing up to the ceiling on this side. So I'm keeping them very, very vertical. I'm not worry too much about this, damping this down as I go. Sort of letting it dry off so I can see the shape. We're going to leave that hair there, which is the last section behind the ear. Pulling it straight out. What are you laughing at, Al?
No, Charlotte Emily Louise said, I would love Lee to cut my hair because he is absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You've got some fans. I mean, it seems like we've got people from all over the country with us tonight.
Actually, I'm going to come this way, Luke. Hello, Hull.
We've got Halzowen.
Hello, Halzowen.
Plymouth.
Hello, Plymouth.
Cornwall.
Square again.
And Lincolnshire in the house.
All right. Well, welcome, guys. Welcome. Comb that down again, and you can see we've got that little bit of overflow or overhang there, should I say. So before I move on to the sides, I just want to connect that. So I'm just going to pull this down with a comb. Nice and natural fall, not too much tension. And we're just going to connect that.
You're cutting through the comb like that, Lee. Are you using fine teeth, or are you always going
Well,
with...
that's a very, very good question. I mean, I didn't want an awful lot of tension in here, so, you know, I could have used the big side of it, but when I combed that, I didn't put a lot of tension on it. I find sometimes when you use the wider edge of the comb, the hair can fall out of it quite easily, you know? So, yeah, there wasn't a lot of tension on there, even though I pulled it down with the fine tooth. Didn't want to get an awful lot of tension on there.
What would be the benefit of not having all that, not having the tension?
Yes, if you had too much tension there, good question, James, then you've got to get more chance of graduation. And with this shape, we just want it nice and solid on the bottom. So that's the back done now. Nice and simple. All we've done there is a one length above uniform layer. So now we're going to move into the sides. So I'm just going to bring my pivot point stand down a bit. You go clockwise to unlock it, and then clockwise to lock it. Fantastic stand this is. What stand do you use, James?
I've got a pivot point one as well.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they are good.
I mean, you know, it just makes, you know, your work so much more enjoyable when you've got a solid stand, isn't it? I mean,
Quick reminder, 15% off to all our viewers who mention Lee Stafford live if you're looking for a pivot point head or pivot point stand.
yeah, pivot point sponsoring us.
Trying to bring you some value, guys, so get stuck into it.
Okay, so we're going to cut this side now. We're going to cut both sides actually. So because I've had these in bumps for a little while, what you can find is that, you know, you can get quite a definite part. And I mean, in normal circumstances, you'd be working through this a lot quicker, but I've had this head sitting there for a little while. So we just want to make sure we get some water in there, just so that there is no sort of ugly sort of parting through any area. So we want to do that on both sides, just to make sure that it's all flowing nicely together. And the same on the other side. Take that clip out, a little bit of water in there. So what we're going to achieve here on the sides is we're going to connect it to that back area, but we also want to leave a lot of disconnection now. So what we're going to do is, if you come around this side, Lukey Babes,
Yeah.
we're going to take a horizontal section. You want to come? Actually, it might be easier this way, actually, buddy. I'm going to take a horizontal section here, and we're going to follow that line that we did around the back. So we're going to pull this straight the way out from the head. You can see that guide there from around the back, and we're just going to follow this all the way through to the front, moving my body around with the head so that there's going to be no over direction there. Now the next section, it's just really important that you're aware that you're leaving enough hair out. We don't want to take this too fine and we end up with sort of spider's legs round here. We want it to be quite weighty. So I would go above the temple here just to make sure we're leaving plenty of hair there, maybe even a little bit more. We can always take a bit more hair off, but once you cut it off, it's gone. And now we're going to pull this up. We're going to cut it into that line. So we're pulling it right the way up now. And then we're going to leave this piece disconnected below it. And then we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So we're going to take a horizontal section through here. And then we're going to pull it all the way up, connect to that section around the back. And we're just going to move my body around, pull it straight out from the head. And we're just going to follow that line, just like we do in the uniform layer that we teach at our academies. So it's the same length all the way around here. With the underneath, we make sure another horizontal section. We make sure we're leaving plenty of hair out through there. Maybe even leave a little bit more out. Just above the temple. You'd want to take that section. And again, we're going to pull it all the way up. Connect it into that top guide. And again, we're leaving that disconnected. So nice and simple, nice and quick. So now I just want to get these out of the way because we're going to cut the fringe now. So the way we cut this fringe is very similar to how we cut our fringe on the one length above, but this one is on the asymmetric. This one is on the asymmetric at 45-degree angle, exactly the same as that section. So we're just going to pull it all down. And our first section, I'm going to keep my feet
let me get your feet in.
Yeah, they're going to be sort of in that position, as if they're nailed to the floor the whole time. I'm not going to move them. And our first section is going to be right in the middle of the head here. And we're going to comb that down, and our fingers are going to sit just on the bridge of the nose on a 45-degree angle. So they're just going to sit there right on the bridge, and my finger angle is going to be 45 degrees, the same as that section. And just using the points of the scissors, just so we get a heavy line, but we also get sort of a textured line. And then we comb what's to the side, and my fingers are still going to be at a 45-degree angle. My feet are still nailed to the floor. Can you see my feet there?
I can't now.
Still there. Haven't moved my feet.
There's proof.
Because the problem is, you see, if you move your feet around, it'll end up changing the angle of your fringe. Yeah, if you move them around here, it's more likely that your fringe is going to start to go up more. So just keep your feet literally on the floor in the same position, and you just keep your finger angle 45 degrees. And then you just, using the points of your scissors, you just go down here nice and slowly. So we get that nice heavy line, but we get that angle with the fringe. So that underneath is all done now. Hey.
Lee?
Yeah.
I have a question from a Jessica Jane. from
Jessica Jane
from North London.
Yeah.
And she asked, "Your hair's looking lovely. Who cut that for you?"
Well, do you know what? I had a hairdresser that I trained once on a program called Celebrity Scissorhands, and her name, coincidentally enough, is Jessica Jane.
Ah.
Yeah, and
She house visits.
She's done a house visit. She lives in North London as well, actually. And yes, and we had a number 2, and she was very pleased. What do you think, everyone? Yeah,
Looking sharp.
very, very pleased. So yeah, I highly recommend Jessica Jane to Jessica Jane. So that's the underneath done, guys. So for the sake of time, I prepared another one.
Here's one I made earlier.
So this is exactly the same haircut, the same length and everything. This is just dried off. So it's all been cut very, very technically so far. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's just get this up a little bit. Let's get that to 8. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on...
Sorry to interrupt, but that's brilliant. I've got tripods for like cameras and stuff, and like just putting some numbers on the side of it. It seems so obvious, and yet
great.
That's brilliant.
They really are brilliant stands, and they're so solid, these stands, and they just don't move. I mean, long gone are the days where you had them little tripods that every time you touched the hair, it got wobbled and nearly fell over, you know. So if you come around here, what we've got
coming this side,
is we've got this little bit of an ugly piece just through here. So we need to kind of tidy this area up a little bit. If you look in the mirror here, where we put them layers around the front, it just doesn't sit very well. So what we're going to do, we're just going to work on this nice and freehand. I'm just going to comb this down. We're just going to work, and we're just going to sort of carve out. This is another little curve we're working on now. We're just working on sort of curving this area out. Just again with the points of my scissors. And the head's kind of just tilted forward slightly, just a little bit, just so I can kind of see how this hair is falling around the face. And we're just carving out just that little piece through there, just so it kind of sits and frames the face just a little bit sweeter. So once that's done, what we're going to do here, we're going to go for a bit of a sort of A-line finish around the sides. So we're going to use a technique called the flip-flop. So
is that why you won't flip?
Just coincidental. So we're going to do the flop on one side. If you're right-handed, you can only flop on the right-hand side. And if you're right-handed, you have to flip on the left-hand side, and vice versa if you're left-handed. So the flop, which I'm going to do on the right-hand side, is quite simple. So if you come on this side, Luke, actually I might need to put this down a little bit now. So this is the flip. So what I'm trying to create here is we're trying to create a nice curve through this front section here. So I'm trying to curve that out. So what we want to do is we want to keep that whole thing quite heavy there. So when we flop this down, like I'm doing here, the flop, our fingers want to keep as little graduation as possible on this. Our fingers want to go as flat down as they can to the neck. The last thing we want to do is lift it out because we'll get graduation on that. So literally, and I'm probably, just for safety, I'm going to leave it a tiny bit longer than what that is because I can always take it off after. And we're just using the shank of the scissor. We're just going to cut this like you would do a piece of cloth or a piece of paper. So we're just carving that through, trying to keep some length on there. So once we've done that, what we're going to do there, we're going to lift it up So you can see we've got a bit of a curve happening there. Now once we've done that curve, like that, then we're going to come into it this way. And we're just going to refine. And you can see me leaving that a little bit longer there just gives me a little bit of leeway now just to work on that curve. So I'm putting the head down so, as if your client's head was just leaning forward a little bit. Just so, and I'm using the points of the scissors again, just so we're working on a nice curve through that. Now you can leave this as long or as short as you want it. Just, down to, what the client wants and suitability. But you can see we're getting a nice curve on that now. So we we banged the shape in nice and quickly, first of all, with the flop, and then we refined it. Now, unfortunately, like I say, you can only flip on one side. Sorry, you can only flop on one side, and you've got to flip on the other. So if you come round, what I'll show you with the flip now is with the flip, whereas when I did the flop, my body was standing behind the head and I just flopped it down. Now with the flip, I have to get my body in front of the head. And whereas the flop, my fingernails were looking away from me when I did it, when we start off, your fingernails have to look at you because you have to flip it around so your fingernails are looking away from you. But you start with your fingernails looking at you. You leave plenty of guide because when you do the flip, if you stand back and watch my feet, you can see me flip it over like that.
Whoa, hang on. Right, okay, that was impressive. All right, I didn't know that was coming. Right, let's do that again.
Okay, so I'm going to grab the hair with my fingernails looking at me, leave plenty of guide, and then I flip my whole body around like that.
Right.
And now we're going to leave a little bit of length there so that we've got a bit of a safety valve again, and then we're going to come in and curve that hair again. Coming in, curving it round. So when we let it down again, we're going to got the makings of that curve. So again, we will then take it off. You can see by me leaving a little bit of safety, I haven't got any holes there. And now you will come in again and just start to refine with the points of the scissors that curve again.
Tracy has just written, I may flop first, then flip. So
is
there an order, or can you do it?
Do you know what? You can come over here, mate, because that light's terrible. Yeah. You can flop and flip wherever you want. I mean, just have fun with it.
Lee, quick question.
Yes,
mate.
right.
So you're refining this haircut a lot, and something that I love to do. Refining is my favourite part. Just emphasise to us how important this refining phase is, to you, Lee.
Do you know what? It's a good question, James, because the refining stage is everything. Because so many times you can do a haircut and you're looking at it and you're thinking, God, that don't look good. I'm not into that. And it's the refining which kind of, what's the word? Unwraps the shape. It's the refining that gives it that quality and bring the shape out. You can always make the shape work by a bit of refining, most definitely. You just can't panic. Sometimes you can do something, oh no, it's not looking good. But if you just stay cool and you just refine it, before you know it, you're really starting to make it work. So you can see we've got a nice curve starting to happen. I mean, the thing is with this refining, I could spend hours refining it. Well, not hours, but a long time. And for someone watching, they might consider that to be a little bit boring. So I'm not going to spend ages and ages polishing that. You can get the idea, can't you?
Sorry, someone's written all very well, but I can't grab my client's head like that, Lee.
Well, no, that's very, very true. No, that's true. But you could, look, that client's head is just down, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just pushing their head down like that, isn't it? So it's very, very, achievable. that. So we've got that real curve around the sides now. Okay, so that's cool. I'm happy with that. So now we're going to connect the top. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect this diamond pattern that we've got on the top. So literally you can see we've got a point going there, and you can see we've got a point going there. So we're going to take a section right through the middle of that. And again, you can see that we've got the roots where that's been sectioned for a little while. It's a little bit buckled at the root. So now we're going to pull this up. We can see the guide from the underneath there, can't we? Yeah? And all we're going to do with that is, with the shank of our scissor again, we are going to connect that, and we're going to go out to the length. So we're not going to take anything off of this length. So again, we've got a big curve that we're cutting out there. So when I cut this, I'm using the shank of the scissor, but I'm not doing this. I'm not cutting it like that, like you would do conventionally. Conventionally, is that a word?
Conventionally.
Yeah,
Conventionally.
That's it. So yeah, we're just using the shank of our scissor, just like that. And that's how we cut it. So that's done. So now we're going to split that into two. So now we've got a strong section on either side, and we're just going to pull these into the middle, into that point. I'm going to pull it all the way up. You can see the guide again. And we go all the way to the end. And then last but not least, this one, you pull it into the middle.
So just working with over direction there, Leo.
A little bit of over direction there. We're connecting it to the underneath, but leaving that length there. So we've just got a massive curve that we've carved out.
Can I jump in with a couple of comments from chat? Millie Day said she went to your event on Tuesday at Abingdon College. She said it was amazing.
Yeah.
And that she always learns so much. So tell us, what happened at Abingdon College on Tuesday?
Well, we're Lee Stafford Education has partnered with 14 colleges around the country, and one of our great partners is Abingdon and Whitney, and every so often I go down to the college, or one of my team, one of my staffs, James is one of my staffs, who go into the colleges and train the trainers in colleges. I go into the college and we do some employers events where we invite the local salon owners and hairdressers in the area to come to the college, and I just do, or one of my team do, a couple of looks. So it was one of them evenings. So it was really good. So thank you for coming. Appreciate it. So if you come around here, Luke, we're now going on to these sections on the top. These are the last two sections that we're doing now. So this section here, we are working now to this point here, because remember it was a diamond shape. So we're going to split that into two, from there to there. So we've got two sections on top. We're going to cut the underneath section first. So we're pulling this all the way up. There's the guide from the underneath. You can see that just there. And again, we are going to connect it to the underneath, but we are working up, leaving that length. So again, we've got a big curve that we're working through that shape there. We then take this section here, the one behind it, and we do exactly the same thing. We pull it all the way up. We work to that guide there using the shank of the scissor, making sure we keep all that length there. And then we've got one last section around the back, around the top, sorry. And this one is a smaller section than that one because of the shape of the asymmetric fringe. So we're just going to do this in one hit. So we go, use that section underneath there, see it there, and again we are going from short to long. And so you can see you've got all this overhang. Even though it all connects, or a lot of it connects on the underneath, you've got a real lot of disconnection that's happening through there. I mean, you can now decide around the back here, you know, if you want to break this this heavy line up at the back, and you can start to go in it and texturize it. You can start to go in and, you know, put some texturizing on that underneath shape as well, just to make it look a little bit worn in, you know, nothing too heavy. But when you pull that up now, I would go through all of that, and I would just take that heavy line off of it. We're not trying to smash the life out of it, just so it looks a bit worn in. Okay, so for the sake of time, I prepared one earlier. So let's put that one over there. So this is exactly the same haircut, the same lengths and everything. But this one is just blow dried off. So you can see now that we've got all of this overhang. So now you've got to decide how much of that overhang you keep and how much you want to take off. And this will differ, you know, all depending on the clients you have. Some clients you might want to leave a little bit of overhang, and some you might want to connect completely, all depending. So I would just sort of take my time with this now. This is just like razoring it, really. You don't want to go in like a bull in the china shop. You just want to, again, this is the sort of refining bit now. So you just want to decide how much of this you take off. So I think I might want to keep a little bit of disconnection there. I don't want it to be too sort of fluffy, but you could just work at this nice and slowly now. And again, this will be taste. You know, you'll be deciding how much of this hair you want to connect. How much would you connect and how much would you leave, James?
Well, it's exactly as you said, Lee, to be honest. It's client dependent. I think if I was going for a showstopper, then I'd leave a bit more disconnection of something, you know, a bit more hairdressery, if you like, if I was doing something to please a crowd. But at the same time, I have got some really open clients that have some quite extreme bits of disconnection on their hair, especially my curly clients, actually.
Yeah.
I find that they're always a bit more open once they've got that trust in you, you know, because they tend to find, you know, curly clients, I'm sure you guys know, you know, have a lot of trust issues with, you know, going to the hairdressers. And it's a big thing, I think, and something that, you know, once they find someone that, you know, that they can do a nice curly shape on, they're all of a sudden, they're open to all these new ideas. So
but it works great, disconnection on curly hair.
It works a treat. So I think something like this. This is the absolutely archetypal shape that I would do on curly hair a lot. Yeah. You know, strong A line towards the front, internal texture and movement to create something that's a bit more dynamic on their curly hair type. So I can see this fitting perfectly for those of you guys that want a really interesting curly haircut to do.
I've got, talking about refining and face shapes, I've got a great question from one of your first year students, actually, Lee. Yeah. Bernard Walsh. Yeah. He says, Lee, I'm in my first year and I struggle with framing the face. How would you suggest I overcome this? Do you have any tips or tricks to framing?
That is a good question.
Thank you for that, Bernard.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, I think that it's all about, obviously it's got to be, you know, suitability is everything. And I made them big mistakes when I was, you know, learning my craft, because you see something, you want to, you know, you see Trevor Soulby do something and you just want, you know, your first client on a Monday morning to have it, you know. So suitability is obviously, you know, plays a massive part in it. But I just think that, you know, when you do great haircuts, you know, a great haircut, as long as it's, you know, for the right person, will frame the face, you know, and it's about looking at the face as you're, you know, working the haircut, and And I think a lot of this all does come with experience. It comes with, perfecting your technique. It comes with, getting confident.
Are there any like ground rules, like if you've got a squarish face, if you've got a triangle
they do
face?
say that, but then you can sort of break it up. If someone's got a square face, they say you shouldn't really give them a square shape because it's just going to emphasise their square face. But sometimes, a square look on a square face can look amazing, I mean, I think the rule of thumb is trying to create an oval face. It's always trying to sort of shape the haircut to an oval shape. But to be quite honest, I think that might even be a little bit outdated now, because it is all about just picking the right kind of hairstyle. What would you say, James?
So, exactly what you said, Lee. With time you understand how these things work. And back to, just quickly touching on Bernard's question, I think the long graduation recipe, Bernard, is exactly maybe where your question's coming from, with that specific face shaping technique.
Yeah.
The long grad is a foolproof technique for that. That really defined kind of round the cheeks kind of texture. I think that's probably where Bernard's question's coming from. But Lee's bang on the money again when he says, as time goes on, Bernard, as your career progresses and you cut, thousands and thousands of heads, you start to see things completely differently. It took me about 10 years of being a hairdresser before I started to understand what was suitable and what wasn't.
And to start liking your work. It took me about 10 years before I liked anything, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think it took me a pretty long time to look at a haircut and think, actually, that's what I've been trying to achieve, for all this time, and cut it with a sense of purpose, like I knew exactly what the outcome was going to be. And I think from my experience with the LSE recipes in the academy setup is that it gives you those perfect foundations to go onto a salon floor with exactly what you need to create consistent, beautiful, salon-friendly haircuts. And Bernard, honestly, go on your recipe book, get that long grad recipe out, and if that is that face shaping thing that you want, that will hit it right on the head.
Thank you for that question.
I've got another question. Obviously, it's difficult to know this one because you're doing it on a blockhead, but Kaylee Hickson asks, is this style easy to recreate when it grows out?
Good question. I think that because we've got such strong pre-sectioning and such a strong method, like an A to Z method, a dot-to-dot method of doing it, and that's the great thing with the Lee Stafford Education recipes, because we have got that strong pre-section, that strong A to Z method, you can literally replicate exactly the same thing every single time. And I also find it allows you to be more creative when you've got that kind of roadmap in place, because you know where to go along that road to get exactly the same thing. But once you've gone down that road a little while, you can go, you know what, I'm going to turn left this week and not right. And you can get something very different as you work through the haircut. So the answer to that question is yes, you can get exactly the same with all the recipes because of the way they're structured, but it does also allow you to be really creative because you can take a slightly different path through them as well.
It's good. I think that's the thing as well, like when you're younger in your career, I used to have lots of anxiety behind recreating what I've done, recreating the work, doing a lovely haircut on a client, and then, some weeks that client comes back, oh, I loved it, do it again. And I'm thinking, oh,
how the hell did I do
that? And that's the joy of exactly what you just said. As soon as I discovered strong pre-sectioning and understanding, that exact journey from, client coming in to leaving with the same haircut, my days on the shop floor became so much easier.
So less stressful, right?
So less stressful.
Okay, so what I did to save time again, I pre-done one earlier, but this one, all I've done is I've probably cut it a little bit shorter around the sides, and all I've done is I've just worked some sea spray in it with my hands just to give it a slightly different texture. This one was dried off and ironed. This one, all I've done is just put some sea salt in my hands and just worked it in just for a little bit of texture, just to show you a different kind of version. But they are exactly the same method and exactly the same length. So we've got 2 more competitions.
We have the second one. I've been running on chat, but no one's got the right answer.
The second one is, when did we open up the original Stafford's house that Hare built? House that Hare built, easy for me to say, in Leigh-on-Sea. When was the date we opened that? And the last question for a goodie bag is, how many heads have we got in this box? These are all the heads that I went through experimenting for this look today. So how many heads?
Give them a chance to kind of box? Maybe work it out.
What do you think?
Yeah. Don't want to show them too much though.
Are we going to give the answer now, Al?
We'll do it in a couple of minutes. I've just got a few more questions from chat.
Yeah.
I've got Mr. Neil Hume on the chat.
Oh, hello, Neil.
Lee, is it true that you're at Neath Port on Tuesday?
Neath Port this Tuesday. We have partnered with the amazing college down there in Wales. So Tuesday I am doing a seminar in Wales. So if you're in that area and you want to come down, just get in touch with the college. I think we've got about 200 people coming at the moment, but more the merrier. So please, if you're anywhere near that area and you want to come to the show, just get in touch with the college.
I've also got a comment here from Liam Bradley Fry.
Hello Liam, how you doing, buddy?
Was supposed to be with us tonight, but
I know.
he's looking after Tony and his broken foot.
Tony, mate, how's that foot? Tony broke his foot a couple of weeks ago when he was doing the VADA at the college in Wales. Tony, how did you break your foot? How did you break your foot doing a VADA? It's dangerous business, this hairdressing.
He broke it after the VADA, didn't he? He went for a walk. He
went for a walk.
He went for a walk after the VADA. I saw it on social. I didn't ask him personally, but I think he went for a walk off a steep cliff by the looks of it.
Oh dear, Tony. Well, wish you well, buddy. Wish you well.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
So we have finished the haircut. This is the curve. I hope you like it. It's a lovely salon-friendly haircut. Very, very easy to do. Very quick to do. Very rich in technique, like all the Lee Stafford Education videos. I'd like to thank my top guest, James Atkinson. Let's hear it for him, the man. James told me a very interesting story earlier, which really touched me. James said that part of the reason why you got into hair is because you saw an article on me. How long ago was that, James? Oh, we're going to give it away.
We're going to give it away.
We're going to give it away.
Quite a while ago.
That's quite touching. I never knew that.
So it was back when I started my career, and I never for 1 second thought I'd be a hairdresser when I was a young man. I was pursuing a life as a golfer, and I'd come to the end of that road, and I was unsure what I was going to do. And a friend of mine who's a great hairdresser back where I'm from, Keith Reeves, some of you will know him out there, and he'd started the journey, he'd sparked the idea, but it was an article in a Sunday supplement that my dad had read that he gave to me that was about Lee and his career and how he'd started the salon in Leigh-on-Sea and all those kind of things. That really sort of ignited that, there is a future, there is a career, it is achievable, we just got to work hard, and it was all down to that, really.
Yeah, it was nice to hear.
Yeah.
And what's the number, if you had to sum it up, what do you love about being, was it the right choice for you, first of all?
Absolutely.
Right career choice?
Yeah. Now I stand here and I just love the industry, I love my job, I love being in the salon, I love teaching, I teach for 3 different organisations. And I love now sharing the stuff that I've learned over the years with other people, and just seeing that eureka moment where someone just really understands what they're doing, and just takes all that stress out of a certain technique. That's what I love now. But obviously, I'm still a salon hairdresser, I'm still a commercial hairdresser. And where the money's at is just doing those clients and understanding what their needs are and how to get them coming back. So I feel very lucky. I love both sides of the coin.
Yeah, brilliant. It was great having you at Star.
Yeah, cheers, Lee.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for inviting me.
So, Lee, do you want to go through the map quickly?
Yes, just quickly. So these are the academies that we've partnered up with. Lee Stafford Education. One is South Tyneside, Hull, Scunthorpe, Doncaster, Stoke, Halsowen, Newtown, Abingdon, Brecon, Heath, Redbridge, Whitney, Abingdon, Whitney, Dartford, Gravesend, Chichester, and not forgetting Bournemouth. So if you're interested in a career in hair, then contact one of them colleges. Remember, let's not forget Karen on production, aka my cousin. Luke on camera as usual. Amazing work, Luke. Don't forget, first Sunday of every month, Lee Stafford Education Live is here at 6 o'clock at the top of our house in Primrose Hill. Enjoy the rest of your bank holiday. We'll see you next time.
Cool.
See you soon.
Bye.
Cheers, mate.
Get a shot of these hair.
Oh, and also, we need to do that competition quick.
Let's
You're not
do it.
logged off yet, have you?
No,
we're still there. So we've got to count.
do it, let's
Well,
do
we've got
it.
loads. I'm not going to be able to go through because we've had loads of guesses.
Okay,
but
here we go. Right, you ready?
Well,
One, here we go.
Well,
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Right, we'll go back through the comments. We'll find out who guessed 11 correctly first, and we will be in touch. We'll slide into your DMs and we'll figure it all out.
See you later, guys.
See you soon. Have a great bank holiday.